This week, we're looking at the portrait lens. The famous portrait lens, 85 millimeter. That's right. I've got 5 of them. I want to give them kind of a little head-to-head competition. Now when I say 85 and I got 5 of them, I'm talking vintage lenses. Manual focus. You know, I've got some autofocus ones too, which are pretty killer, but that's another episode. But this week we're looking at my 5 manual focus vintage lenses. So let's get into it. Back in a sec.
Here I am, Vietnam. Rain is always coming down.
Well, this is Camera Talk with Dr. Scott. Okay, this week, just like my intro said, I'm getting into looking at my vintage manual focus portrait lenses. Now I've got various other, short telephotos that are also considered portrait lenses, but the 85 millimeter is what the standard portrait lens is famous for. So I've got 5 of them that I'm going to put head to head here. See who comes out on top. I've got myself a Nikon Nikon H from 1972. I've got a couple Jupiter 9s, one from 78, one from 88. I've got a Minolta from 1981, and I've got Olympus from 1972. So we're gonna go again head to head. Looking at the specs, taking some test photos, as well as my standard operating procedure is using my son Dylan McDonald as a subject. So if I can get him nailed down into one position long enough so that I can switch these 5 lenses on and off I'm going to use my Sony A7R II as the camera body, and again show you what these lenses can do. Some are obviously better than others, but when it comes to portraits or portraiture as a subject, then it really is up to the photographer or up to the person getting their picture taken as to artistically what they're looking for. Are they looking for sharpness? Are they looking for softness? Are they looking for something to complement the skin tones and textures and all these other kinds of things? So that's what we're going to be looking at this week. So let's move over to the table here and line these suckers up, get a little chit chat about their specs, and start taking some photos. All right, so let's move to the table. Back in a second. Okay, got the table ready, got everything all set up here. So what I'm going to do is, as I said, go through each one lens by lens, put it on my A7R II here to give it a test shot. Probably wondering what this is here. This is my, speaking of autofocus. This is my my Zeiss Sony Batis 85 1.8, a killer lens. But again, this is not the purpose of this video. That's an autofocus lens. But what I'm going to do, starting at the end here with my Jupiter 9. Now this one is what I call my Frankenstein lens.
Nope.
It was actually the first Soviet lens that I'd purchased when I started collecting lenses, and the price was right, so I bought it. But it's the body is from 1988, and it was produced by a company, by a factory. It's a Soviet lens, so of course the government is in charge of running everything back in the Soviet Union. But this was produced in 1988, and it's the reason I call it my Frankenstein lens is because the front element is much older than the body itself. So the body was from 1988. The lens, the front element, is from 1963. Made at two different factories. Now the front element lens itself was made at the Zavad Arsenal factory, again in 1963. The body itself was made at the LZOS factory, which is the L stands for Lit Carino factory. Now, of course, my Russian pronunciation may be off on that, but it's how it looks like it's pronounced to me by looking at the spelling of it. But anyway, the LZOS factory, and you could tell by the logos, two different logos on here. So again, this is my Frankenstein Jupiter 9. Now I have another Jupiter 9 here, which is, all original, and it's from 1978. And this one is also made at the LZOS factory at Litcarino, the USSR, even though today it's Russia. But anyway, back then it was the USSR, as is labeled here, made in USSR, which is stands for the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, for those maybe young watchers or young viewers who don't know much about the USSR. Anyway, so anyway, let me give you some specs on these bad babies here. And the reason I have them separated is just I did it by height, but these two are the same. So anyway, there's seven elements in 3 groups, so very simple design. And again, if you've watched my other videos about Soviet lenses, you'll know that at the end of World War II, the Soviet Union obviously controlled the eastern half of Europe, beginning with East Germany, and they captured the Carl Zeiss factory in Jena, and therefore, as part of what they figured are war reparations, they said, well, let's get a little money back out of this that we put into the effort here. And they took the machinery and the technical know-how and the designs and everything back to the motherland, and started reproducing Carl Zeiss lenses. So this is a Carl Zeiss sonar design, and it's copied. Of course, they modified it a bit here and there throughout the years, but anyway, that's what it's based off of, is the sonar design. It has 15 blades, which is always nice for the rounded out of focus area, the quality of that, called bokeh. Its close focus distance is 70 centimeters, or 0.7 of a meter. Now because they were manufactured in such a long range, from 1948 all the way up to 2007-ish, maybe 2008, before they finally stopped producing these. And so they range in weight from 318 grams all the way up to 380 grams. So it's quite a bit of weight difference in that regard. So it goes up from F2 all the way to F16, and what it's, I guess the feedback from everybody on it is wide open is fairly soft, which is kind of sought after for a lot of portrait shooters. But it sharpens up, getting around F4, F5.6, it gets pretty sharp. So anyway, let me get you a couple of shots from this first. Actually, let me do this older version first, which is the one from 1978. So let me get that on my Sony here, and I'll give you a shot of my Canon M50, which is filming this right now. So I'll give this to you wide open, just to show you what it does wide open. Alright, so let me focus in on the end of the lens here. Yeah, and it is pretty tough since it is so soft wide open. But anyway, this is 1, 2, 3. This is the 85 f2. Now this is, again, 1978. So let me spin this off. Now these are all also M42 screw mount. They came in original L39 when they were first produced in 1948, because everybody was copying the Leica thread mounts, and then later switched to M42. All right, so this one is the again, my Frankenstein version. So it's the body itself is from 1988, but the front element is from 1963. So let's see how this one renders. So again, let me zoom in as best I can here on the end. And this one is actually sharper. 1, 2, 3. So the now whether it's the front element or other elements in it, whatever, it's actually sharper than the one that's fully designed without any tweaking to the elements in here. So that was the Jupiter 9, and again, it's relatively soft, wide open, and if you want to sharpen it up, you have to close down the aperture to somewhere f4, f5.6 to make that difference. All right, next let me move along to the Olympus. So this is the Olympus OM system F Zuiko, and Zuiko means the light of God, and F in front of the Zuiko, A, B, C, D, E, F, you know, is a designator of the number of elements in the Olympus Zuiko brands. So F is the 6th letter of the alphabet, therefore there's 6 elements in this. It's an Auto T, and it's an 85 f2 in this regard. So this is a lens from 1972. Again, there's 2 lenses I have shared from the same year, 1972. The you know, again, the beauty of the Olympus brand. Now this is an adapter on here, so if you look at that, that's pretty small. It's like the size of a 50.
There's so many different sizes.
So it's ideal for you know, carrying around in your pocket and whatnot. You know, f2 is not bad. You know, I know a lot of people like f1.8 or 1.4, 1.2, that kind of thing, but those are giant lenses. You know, look how big my Nikon is. It's 1.8 compared to my f2s here, which are a lot smaller. So it is 6 elements in 5 groups. Close focus is 85 centimeters, which is 85 millimeter with 85 centimeter close focus. You know, just coincidence in that regard. Again, 1972, 270 grams in this, and actually the blades, I forgot to count how many blades are in here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 aperture blades. And oh, I have a tad bit of oil in there too. I'm gonna have to open this up and clean that up a little bit. It's only on two of the blades have a little bit of an oil streak on them. Actually, if you remember seeing my earlier video about cleaning aperture blades on my Helios. Helios also Russian brand as well, and that's what I noticed looking at my my Jupiter, is that it too has a little bit of oil issue on here that I have to get cleaned up. So anyway, that's one of the things you have to deal with vintage lenses. So anyway, with the Olympus, again, it's you know, it's a nice lens. Let me get you some shots on that. And these range from f2 to f16. So let me zoom in on the end. Oh yeah, this one's a lot sharper. 1, 2, 3. All right. So you know, again, it's small, it's sharp. The renderings are nice on that, and I'll show you obviously in between pictures of Dylan. So. So let me put that away. All right, so that was the Olympus. Let me move on to the Nikon. And this again, made in 1972. You know, this was back when Nikon was still using Nikon, the Nikon H. The 1.8, so it's different than the rest of these, and other writings on here: Nippon Gogaku Japan, with the serial number. And you know, for those who also know about the AI and AIS and pre-AI versions, you know, this is an AI version. So anyway, little details about this one. The you know, its production was from 1964 to 1972, and I just happened to get the 1972 version right at the very end of the run on that. It's six elements in 4 groups, 6 aperture blades. Nikon was never really into large numbers of aperture blades. I think most of, at least all the lenses I have are all 6 aperture blades, which of course rounded bokeh wide open, but then you start to get into hexagon shapes once you know, once you start stopping down and looking at the bokeh. You got, you know, the straight edges on your bokeh balls and so on and so forth. So close focus is 1 meter, so it's a little further back than these guys. It's a heavy lens, 420 grams, or you know, 14.8 ounces out there. So it's you know, this one stops down to f22. So it's you know, again, it's a bigger lens. It's a nice piece of glass, kind of a pretty lens. So let me get you a shot of my my Canon M50 here. I have to focus on the end of the lens itself. All right, ooh, nice and sharp. All right, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. So far out of these 3, this is the sharpest one. Wide open, again at an f1.8. Very pretty lens. This was made famous in a movie that escapes me right now as to what the name of it is. But let me post that right up, or give you a little insert right here. All right, so that was the famous movie anyway. So the Nikon H was used in that movie. All right, so that was the Nikon. Now let me end off today's comparisons with my Minolta. Now the Minolta here is, it's a famous for one thing. Minolta themselves as a company kind of pioneered a number of things in photography, but they're kind of the ones who stepped Sony into the world of photography themselves. And out of all the Minolta lenses, this one is kind of got the allure of collectors because it's been called the best Minolta lens out there. And it's what it is. It's an MD 85 millimeter f2, and its nickname is the MD3. And it's known for just being really sharp, wide open, as well as all the other aperture stops all the way down. So it is also another one that stops down to f22. So from f2 to f22, it's 6 elements in 5 groups. Has 6 aperture blades like the Nikon here, and 285 grams. Its close focus distance is 85 millimeters, just like the Olympus here. So it's an 85, close focus to 85. But anyway, let me show you a picture of the end of my Canon 15 to 45 kit lens here. Yeah, very sharp. 1, 2, 3. All right, and also I'm going to get some pictures of Dylan in here as well. So basically what all these have in common is the fact that they're small, except for the Nikon here. But again, you take the adapter off, and it's again not that big compared to today's. This is a Zeiss. This is the Zeiss Batis, and look how big and chunky this thing is compared to my other 85s. And it's a 1.5, so again it's bigger than my Nikon 1.5, but it's an autofocus, so of course it's got the motor mechanics inside dealing with that. But anyway, so what would I classify as the best one? In my opinion, after testing them, again head to head, the one that's on here now, the Minolta MD, I think kind of is the cream of the crop out of this bunch. My Nikon 85 would be next, my Olympus right after that, and then my Frankenstein Jupiter 9 compared to my thoroughbred Jupiter 9. So Minolta, Nikon, Olympus, Jupiter is how I would gauge these. Now, for anybody out there who's also using these, tell me what you think about them. Leave some comments down below, and maybe we can have a conversation about that. But anyway, that's that's all I have for you this week, and so come on back next week. But first, support my channel and don't forget to subscribe. And for those not listening, hey, wake up and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, because everybody loves those thumbs up girls. Well, if not everybody, then at least I do. And lastly, little plug for Luminous. Luminous? What the heck is Luminous? I've been watching Spartacus series on Netflix. Luminar and Luminar AI are the photo editing software that I use for my own photographs. Now, there's nothing wrong with straight out of camera, but you could always tweak something here or there. Maybe the exposure, the colors, the composition, the sharpness, softness, whichever way you want to go on that. You know, just about every photo out there can handle just a tad bit of tweaking here and there. And why not do it with Luminar? It's economical, you get a lot of bang for your buck, and when you buy it, it's yours for life. And if you use the link below, you'll save $10. I mean, it's $67, so it'll only cost you $57. And I get a little kickback from that too. Nothing wrong with that, right? So anyway, that's all I've got for you this week. Come on back next week, because this was Camera Talk with Dr. Scott. And it's brought to you, sponsored by the good folks of Modesty Photography. And those good folks are me, myself, and I. And we'll see you next week. So stay safe, stay away from that COVID. Don't touch your face, wear your mask, wash your hands, get the doctor's advice. And we'll see you again in next week's episode. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.
Here I am,